Hello and welcome to the King's Forum podcast show. I have a very special guest with me, Jodie. Hi, Jodie.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Jodie's going to talk about her mental health journey, and we're just going to have a discussion around that. So, when did you first realize you had a problem with your mental health, Jodie?
Probably around 8 years ago, I kind of recognised it as I needed help. I definitely, when I look back, have been suffering a lot longer. But that was kind of the huge step of my first kind of port of help. Ended up going to the doctors, really low. My son was 2 at the time. So I think I kind of thought it must be postnatal depression or delayed postnatal depression. Went to the doctors and was never offered anything except medication. I never offered to talk to anybody, any kind of therapy. It wasn't even mentioned. So at the time, it was all very new to me. So I took tablets, was on them for about 3.5 years. And if I'm honest, I don't really think they did a lot apart from numb what was going on.
I hear you.
But it very much numbed me as well. So
of course.
Yes, I wasn't necessarily feeling really sad and depressed, but I don't think I was feeling. I think I was just coasting.
Yeah.
I was then, about 3.5 years later, I decided I just didn't want to be on them because I didn't feel like I needed them, but I needed to find myself again. And weaned myself off them with advice from the doctor, kind of how to do it, because it's obviously really important with those things that you don't just stop. And then it's taken this last year for me to realise again how serious it is, but that I don't want to go on medication. I want to find out what the problem is. I want to solve kind of the problem and what's happening. So yeah, that's kind of how I've got to today.
Yeah. So could you talk a little bit how it was impacting your day-to-day life, especially with medication and you being a mum and a new mum at the time?
It was really hard. If I just give you a bit of my kind of history, because obviously what's really important, I think, is where I believe it kind of all started. At 17, I lost my dad to a sudden accident. So it was, one of these freak accidents. So I was very, I think any age to lose a parent, you're vulnerable. But for me at 17, it was, kind of a really crucial age. You're just coming into adulthood and having to deal with that is, I think is my problem. I was in quite a toxic relationship at the time with kind of a boy who made it very clear I wasn't enough for him. So there was no physical abuse going or anything like that, but emotionally, it kind of destroyed me. My dad passed away. He was very much like, you need to get over this. It's, 3 months later I was crying and he was like, are you not over this? And I was like, well, no. But I figured, I have to. Obviously, 17, your friends don't know how to deal with it. So it became apparent very quickly that I had to just suppress my feelings and get over it, because that's what I should do. I mean, we don't have experience in this, do we? Everyone grieves in their own way. That's and there's right. No guidance. I had the love and support of my family, but I didn't deal with it. So, moving on, kind of, you grow up and different paths and things like that. I then met my husband and we had our first child. And when I had my first child, something switched upstairs. And I think it's that realization you're no longer responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got, another human being that you have to be responsible for. So I spent my life helping others, making sure other people were happy, kind of dealing with their problems, because I didn't have to deal with mine. So then throw another child in the situation, and I've got 2 very small children. I couldn't cope. I could not cope. It just all got too much. I couldn't hold it together anymore. So, that's kind of a bit of my insight.
No, thanks for that. That's important, because it kind of puts everything in perspective, kind of, you know, what you're dealing with now, and you know, kind of your journey, since this is about
Yeah.
mental health journey. And grief is a massive thing. I lost my
Oh,
father
huge.
7 years ago, and
Okay.
you're right. The whole thing, the whole process, and realizing that, you know, you have to process it and actually feel these feelings rather than
Oh,
trying to
absolutely.
suppress it and carry on with your everyday life. And it definitely comes up maybe later on down the line
Yeah.
in another way.
And
It shows
that,
itself up.
that's it. Is because their feelings are not nice feelings, are they? Grief is it's no one's going to say, oh, I love to grieve. You know, it's so it's very easy to kind of suppress that feeling because you don't want to face it, not realizing the damage you're doing by not facing it. And actually, it's so important to grieve, and it
Oh,
doesn't always have to be sad,
no, it
you
doesn't.
know. And I think that's what I've learned very, very recently.
Definitely.
So yeah.
So go back to your mental health. How did that impact your relationship with your family and friends?
So my at 17, my kind of my close friends, you know, you're very, very close friends, they dealt with it with me because they were my friends. So we kind of dealt with it. My family are always really supportive, really loving. I think it's as an adult, as I've got older, that the effect of that and being in that relationship at the time is I lost my self-worth.
Mm.
So there was no self-worth, there was no self-love, there was no self-acceptance either. So I'm coasting along in this kind of shell of a body that doesn't feel like me, doesn't know how to feel, and doesn't know who I am. I had no identity. I couldn't put down, you know, someone said, what do you like doing? I didn't know what I liked doing because I never stopped to kind of look. So, and my husband has been incredible for it all, because I've really pushed him because of not feeling like I deserved him.
Wow.
So it was really, I knew he loved me. I loved him. I love him, you know, kind of, there was never any doubt, but there was that kind of fear of what if he one day realizes who I am and he won't love me, you know, because I don't know who I am. So I kind of really, I just pushed it all away. And then kind of in the past few months is obviously I had therapy, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly, that I fall in love with him all over again. Our relationship is so much stronger. And that's all because I've now fallen in love with myself and realized my self-worth. And I cannot put into words how that's made me feel.
Yeah.
So it's just been incredible.
Yeah, so a lot of years of you giving and doing for others, and
Yeah.
you're not doing for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I didn't want to, because I didn't feel like I deserved anything, you know. I was just put on this planet just to be, and yeah, I didn't deserve any of the goodness I had around me. So I didn't want to really accept it in case it got taken from me.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
So
So
yeah.
therapy you've received, and
Yes.
that has helped.
So that's been incredible actually. That's kind of stumbled across thanks to social media and Instagram. I had reconnected with someone I knew a very long time ago, who had also kind of been on her own journey, and you know, finding herself and falling in love with herself. And I kind of had the balls back in March to reach out and kind of say, I'm really struggling. Can you give me some advice? Can you tell me what you've done? So she put me in touch with this therapist called Will, and he's just been incredible. He's not like any other kind of therapist I have ever met. And he's completely changed my life, completely turned it around, kind of made me see the world differently and myself differently, and talking a lot about our fight and flight and how it all works, really.
No, I hear that, because especially, you know, for me, it wasn't talked about, especially in my culture I was brought up in, and
No.
parents I was brought up in. So definitely having someone, a specialist, for that guidance and
Oh God,
show us the way. definitely helps, because there's always this stigma around, psychologists and therapists, and
Oh, do
you
you
know,
know what? I think, that's what the whole thing was, is not realizing or not wanting to admit that I was feeling rough, kind of, not rough's not the word, feeling down and depressed, because when I was brought up, mental health was being carried away in a straitjacket and taken off to a mental institute, never to return. It was never discussed. It was never, even the talk of anxiety. I'd never heard the word anxiety to an adult. It was so, you're feeling all these feelings that you're thinking are normal, but you're not wanting to talk about them for other people's judgment. And I'm determined to kind of change that for my children.
definitely, and just let them know it's okay. So
Oh gosh, absolutely.
Bill,
Because actually, if more people talked about it, there wouldn't be as many people needing help right now.
there you go, and that's all it is, and we'll be able to help ourselves,
Absolutely.
which you have to do anyway. But the therapist is there to guide you along that path.
Oh yeah, and I think that's it. They're trained kind of to talk, to you about things in a different way.
Definitely. So talk about your experience as you're around your support network, and did you have a good support network?
Yeah, I did. I think the trouble is nobody knew how I was feeling. I kind of would talk about it a little bit, but never to the extent as how I was feeling. I guess I felt a little bit ashamed. I guess at the time, you want people's sympathy when you kind of are feeling a little bit low. I kind of felt like I needed people's sympathy as I can't even think of the word, where to kind of understand my feelings while I'm feeling it, to kind of give it a yes, it's okay to feel like that. But when I was kind of really, really low, I didn't want people's opinions because I didn't want their advice. It was that you get stuck in a rut of you won't be able to help me, I can't help me, so what's the point of sharing this? So I had a mask that I could kind of be. Anyone else would think, oh, look at you, she's having a great time, she's really, really, enjoying herself, because I could hide that. But inside, I couldn't fight the feeling of the darkness that was kind of consuming me sometimes.
I hear you. Definitely.
So yeah, it's I've been really lucky. My husband has been incredibly supportive throughout it all, and I think that makes a difference as well, because obviously he believed in me that I could do this and take that next step, and I think that's really important.
Definitely. So how do you manage your mental health today now? What point are you at now on this?
So I'm at a point now where I recognize when my kind of thoughts start changing my feelings and my behaviors, kind of if a negative one will creep in before I could let it consume me, and kind of then I'd have a week of feeling rubbish until the next one came along, then that would go down and the next kind of thought would carry along. So I recognize that, and I do things now each day for myself just to kind of help me, because I never used to take any time to myself. So meditation, that's been incredible. 5 years ago, even actually 5 months ago, for hearing me say meditation would be like, nah. I'm quite, as you can probably tell by talking, I'm quite an active person, so I don't often sit still. So actually 10 minutes meditation a day has been phenomenal, just to kind of make me sit and ground me a little. I get out, even if I'm not feeling like it. I always feel 10 times better if I've gone out on a walk. I've been cycling, taking time in the bath, just kind of sitting and relaxing. It's just really important, I think, to take time for yourself, and also just to reach out to someone if you're feeling a bit low, because sometimes just that chat with someone is can really make a difference.
I hear that. I think it creates this whole big self-awareness, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I've realized, it's okay to take a little bit of time for myself, because actually I deserve it. So yeah.
Any advice for anyone struggling with their mental health that you could give? I know you mentioned some things there. Is there anything else?
Yeah, do you know what? I think the most important thing for anyone struggling is, one, to know it's okay, you're not alone, but to reach out and talk to someone, be it a friend or a therapist or a doctor. And, you know, it's okay to feel that way. I think is important, because I never thought it was.
Yeah, we never do we?
No. And yeah, I think if I could have, you know, and also the great thing about social media is you can find people who are in your same situation. You know, that's how I got inspired to go for help. I've done a bit of a is it a cult, and start getting rid of celebrities that I would envy, because
Oh, really?
yeah, well, I kind of feel you'd follow so many pages, but you can follow people where you end up feeling like wanting what they have and not being grateful for what you have, you know, and what they look like, what they do. And I actually think that that's not always healthy. It's great if you're following someone that inspires you, you know, that's what you need to be looking for, not someone that doesn't make you feel good.
Yeah.
If you've just watched something and you just thought, oh, now I feel really rubbish, I mean, that's not for you. So kind of get rid of it. Bring some joy in your life.
100%, isn't it? Because it's what we're taking in, you know.
Oh, it's, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, it needs to be healthy as well, just like your diet, you know. It's
well, that's it actually. It's funny enough, my therapist, that's what he said, which has kind of really resonated, is our physical health. We all do something about our physical health, but mental health is never talked about, and it's as important, you know, because they're the makeup of you. So it's good to do the things that make you feel good.
100%. What social platforms are you on, Jodie? Where can people find you?
So I have recently started an Instagram page called Loving Life with Jodie. And it is literally just sharing my story. I'm open, I'm honest. I talk about my trauma. I talk about my day-to-day life. And it's just fun, really. It's just about kind of noticing that, you know, the love in the world and the things we take for granted.
Yeah, it's a great account. People, please go and check it out. And you know, lots of positive messages there, and you know, so you set people up for their day, and you know, check in with us as well. I like it.
Yeah, well, I just think it's important, you know. The way I see it is, and another turning point with me with the therapy was, you know, I'm 42 years old now. I could have spent the next 42 years feeling rubbish, and I'm now living my life again. I feel, you know, almost reborn, in the kind of fact that living my life again and loving every minute of it, how blessed I am, rather than, you know, focusing on what I didn't have.
There you go. That's what happiness is about, isn't it? Appreciating what you
have.
have.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we all take for granted little, you know, the simple little things in front of us, and when we stop and take a minute, we all realize how blessed we actually are.
Definitely. Jodie, thank you very much. It's been
an pleasure.
You know, enjoyed this very much so. And people, please like, share, and subscribe the video. Thank you very much, Jodie.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.